Well, we're in the first week of October and things are starting to look pretty darn good here at Truly Tropical. The north side of the grove is like ready for the camera crews or something to come in. It has gotten its final weed whacking and such, and so everything's been trimmed and it has grown back from the trimming, and it just is looking great. Of course, it looks even better when the mangoes are on it, but on the trees. But then we have the south side of the grove, and all of these trees have been trimmed also. But not only have they not enjoyed the final cleanup of the north side, but there's also some interesting things going on this side of the grove. So this tree is a rather recent topwork project. This was Floragon, and now it is 99% cac. So I'm hoping that this tree calms down enough before flowering season to flower and actually produce fruit. It's, I think, been a year and a half since I put the first scion on this tree, and so it's really gotten to be a nice looking tree, and hopefully it'll be nice looking and nice tasting a tree this next season. So that's one of the things we've got. This is our Kampong Mauve sugar apple, and we still have some sugar apples on the tree, so that's nice. It hasn't been a great year for most of our sugar apple trees, but this one is doing very well. Right here, it looks like one at a perfect stage for picking. Let's see if we can get the light going on here. See the reddish, purplish stuff in there, and the bottom of the fruit looks like it's all stretched out. Happen to have a little pruner with me, so I can cut this off. I think I can cut it off. It's sort of stuck a little bit between the branches. Make sure I'm getting the right thing. Okay, so up close and personal, there we go. Wonderful stage for that fruit. It's not ready to eat at this stage, but it is ready to pick. If it had stayed on a little bit longer and we got some rain, which we're expecting, it probably would have split. But at this stage it will ripen up, get a little soft, and that's when you eat it, and it will be gorgeous. So that's that. This is our fruit punch tree, and the main thing we did with this tree is make it shorter. It had gotten pretty tall. We did cut back some of the branches so that, you know, like the other branches get more sunlight, but it wasn't a drastic trimming. It's mostly from the top. So hopefully we'll get really nice fruit from this, and lots of it this next season. Fruit punch is just a very popular variety. So there's this one over here, just sort of random things that interest me. This one is sort of looking the opposite of lush. I mean, it is looking pretty nice actually, but it was a lot of it is fairly recent growth. This tree happens to be half honeykiss and half rosy gold, so early and late fruit. And they do very well together. It seems like their growth habit is pretty darn similar. So nice. We have Jakarta. This Jakarta tree did not produce very much fruit this last season, so we're hoping that it does produce a lot this next season. All of these trees are going to get gypsum, a lot of gypsum in the grove, and then we'll also have some rock powder that is actually K-mag in its natural form, and we'll be spreading that around a lot of the trees, so hopefully that will translate into a lot of nice fruit. This is a tree, another one of my topwork trees. I was going crazy with topwork this last season, And this used to be Valencia Pride, and some parts of it still are. But I've put a lot of varieties on it just because it was an easy place to get some varieties started. Most of the varieties that are on here I have not tasted yet. It's just they sounded interesting, so I started to graft them on topwork it on different branches on this tree, and I'm hoping that some of them produce fruit this next season. But the problem with a situation like this is that there's a massive root system, a very large trunk, because this tree used to be very big. And so whatever I graft onto this tree grows very quickly. And that's lovely in a lot of respects. Not great for when we get wind. In fact, when we were expecting high wind with Hurricane Helene, we just got the outer bands, but still there was some significant wind. I was out here actually trimming leaves and trimming branches back so there wouldn't be as much danger to just getting branches torn off and such. But anyway, it is looking very nice, and I'm hoping that the tree is able to calm down enough to flower, and then of course getting the fruit this next season. So fingers crossed on that. But the good news is there are a lot of varieties on there that I'm excited about. If they don't fruit in 2025, there's always 2026. But still crossing my fingers. So over here I have the mango hedge, and everything's looking gorgeous this morning. Lots of nice healthy leaves. We try to keep this hedge down to like 8 feet. Those few of the trees seem to be taller than that. But hopefully we'll have just a lot of fruit in this area. We have sugarloaf, mostly sugarloaf, but then also Karen Michelle. We've got orange sherbet and ice cream also. But one of the things that I really like this morning is like just looking down this area here. I mean, we've got all these mango trees, but this is unintended. This is ruella, and it's very pretty, and unfortunately it spreads like crazy. So how we got it is a lot of times when people are building houses or redoing something, there's sand involved, and so there are a lot of people who haul sand who are on a first name basis with me. And sometimes we get sand, just plain sand, and then we are able to, like smooth out some areas in the grove with the sand. But one time we got a bunch of fill really that was full of these ruella, and apparently the homeowners were tired of dealing with it, and so they just scooped out everything and then brought in fresh sand. But for us, it's not a problem because we have a pretty strong mower, and we just can mow everything down. So it looks like manicured, which is not really something that we do. It's just easy to keep this looking nice, and I do like looking at the mangoes with the flowers underneath. It's probably not the absolute ideal situation for the mangoes, but they seem to produce anyway, and it's a little food for the soul. This is another topwork project here. Also, this was a Valencia Pride tree and was huge. And what I did was I topworked this to only one variety, and that variety is Pineapple Pleasure. And I think that I've gotten every branch topworked to it. And it looks like it's possible that we will get fruit this next season from this tree. I hope we get a lot of fruit this next year, because Pineapple Pleasure is a very popular variety, and I'd like to actually be able to eat some also. So it's looking good. We'll cross our fingers on that also. So got some carry, a lot of carry plants in the grove. Unfortunately, last season was like, they were next to none. Normally we would get just boxes and boxes and boxes of Kerry. It's a really nice variety, and we've got a lot of customers that are, like that's their favorite fruit, or favorite variety of mango, I should say. Unfortunately, there were a lot of sad people this past season. I'm hoping that this next season, because last year was so bad, that 2025 will be especially good for all of the varieties that didn't fruit very well. But we'll just have to see. Trees are looking great now, and again, it's a matter of us getting all of the amendments that would help these plants, encourage them to flower, and also we need the cold weather to get them to flower. So we'll provide what we can and cross our fingers on the cold weather. Yeah, looking nice as far as if you're looking for a nice looking tree and not the fruit. They're great. But typically Kerry is a reliable producer. Last year was just not one of those times. We've got these are a few seedlings that I top worked to sweet tart, so hopefully we'll get some sweet tart fruit this year, or this next year. Sweet tart is normally a very heavy producer. We did get fruit from it in 2024 summer, but it wasn't like the ton of fruit that we normally get. But again, it was not a good year for anybody that I know in South Florida. Weather just was not with us. So we'll see. Let's see, some more Kerry. Over here we have a couple of our lemon meringue trees. So they're in here. They're rather large and they've been trimmed. We didn't trim the sides as much as we trimmed the top this year. It was mostly focused on the top, and as soon as the fruit are off these trees this next season, we'll trim the sides also, so that they have plenty of time to recover. It's just such a popular fruit that I was being overly conservative probably on the trimming, but I'm hoping it pays off. Because I do like to have as many people happy as possible, as many customers happy as possible. This next tree here is also lemon meringue, but then we have some interesting things. We recently chipped up a lot of branches and such, and so that's why it's like I'm stepping on sponge here. There's just a lot of leaves and chips and stuff. We'll try and spread this out. This is really good for building the soil and giving some of the nutrients to the plants, but when we chip up, it tends to dump them in a fairly localized place, and so we gotta spread it out a little bit. We have a glen tree here. This was a former glen tree, and I put a lot of Super Alfonso on here. So I'm hoping, last year we did get Super Alfonso fruit from it, and I'm hoping that we get a lot of Super Alfonso this next year. I even put a little Super Julie in the back, and so that is another variety that I hope we get a good supply of. This is a glen tree that I just decided to grow out a few new varieties on. I'm hoping that they fruit soon, but it could be years. But in the meantime, it's an easy one to check, and I've kept it low, so it's an easy one to fool around with too. This is just a seedling. Haven't top worked that with anything yet, but we know that's coming. It's just a matter of deciding what I want to put on there. This is glen also. We have a lot of glen because it's a very popular variety, disease resistant and reliable producer and classic mangoes. A lot of the older varieties are really good, and this one definitely has a fan base. So we've got quite a few glen trees. And then we have, this is a multi-graft tree. We've got Best and Juliet on that tree. And then there's some seedling trees over here that I just put a few other varieties on. Unfortunately, I don't think that many of them are marked. Well, they were marked, but then the sun faded it. But there's Promchimea is one of those on this tree, and I think the dominant one. Got a lot of, this is one of our, you can't even see the top, it's a huge turpentine mango tree, and it's really gotten too big. Unfortunately, there's a really happy honeybee home up there in one of the hollows of the tree, so it's a little hard to keep it smaller safely. But then it has dropped a lot of fruit over the years, and there are just tons of turpentine seedlings. Some of these I've grafted onto, and so hopefully we'll get some fruit from them. I think most of the ones I've grafted onto are just over in this area. So yeah, it'll be fun. Try and figure out, hopefully, that, you know, it'll be easy to tell what I grafted once it fruits, but we'll just cross our fingers on that. Yeah, just a lot of things that are potential fruiters, and it makes it a lot more interesting once you know what variety it is. As I said, I did mark a lot of those trees, but unfortunately it wasn't with a real permanent marker. It was with a permanent marker that was actually just waterproof. So live and learn on that. Yeah, we've got a whole nother row here, almost the entire row of carry. So all of this carry was having a nice rest in the 2024 season, and hopefully it steps up to the plate this year. This is one of the exceptions to this row, and this is a Valencia Pride. So it got trimmed rather severely. It was quite large, and hoping that it has a nice fruiting season. This sort of skinny one used to be tall and skinny, and that's Beverly, but then we have a lot of carry over here also. This is an area back here that's you might recognize from an old video. This particular part, which of course needs weeding, we're getting around to trying to catch up, but this is Dot in a pot, and this of course was in a large pot, plastic pot, and it rooted into the ground, and rather than like lose all of the roots by trying to get it out of the pot, we basically just used concrete blocks and then added a bunch of soil to this area, and so it's right where, it's covering, the soil's covering all the roots, and the Dot is taking advantage of the sun right here. It has sort of open access to the sun. All the other trees were trimmed back, and so it produced some fruit last year, and I think we'll get more fruit this year, so I mean more than we did last year. And then in between these rows, I decided as long as we had Dot in the pot here, I'd put some other things. So never enough sugar apples. So these are green sugar apple trees, and they're not as old as the Kampong Mauve, but we do get some fruit from them. There's a little green sugar apple. And a bigger one here. We have this cactus. I didn't know what to do with it, so I put it here, and then I needed to have concrete blocks to keep it from falling over. I didn't realize that that would be a problem, but this is a very heavy plant. But anyway, here is a green sugar apple that looks like it's almost ready to pick. And then we have, like at least one that is not ready. We've got this little one over here that is quite immature. But not a lot of fruit on these trees, but we will always keep an eye on them because every sugar apple counts. There's just a lot of fans out there. Well, this one looks like it might be ready. This is another green sugar apple tree. Oh yeah, definitely. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. I'm glad we saw it right now because by the end of the day it might have started to split. It is at its capacity, I think. There we go. Beautiful. And we have the last sugar apple tree in the row. And, yep, got an immature one there. Another one here, not ready to pick. Oh, bingo. I think we found another one. Hopefully it's not too late for this. Let's see, where is your top? It's over here. Oh, so all this black on these outer edges kind of thing, that is probably from rubbing against a branch. It doesn't indicate any level of ripeness or rottenness or anything like that. This is a firm fruit that would ripen best off the tree, but it doesn't look as pretty as these other ones. It's just a superficial thing. Let me see. I was looking at another one. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, right here. I'm running out of room in my hand. But yeah, this one. Yeah, sometimes this happens where you get some sort of weird thing. The development of that fruit was probably influenced by resting on this branch. We have this big dent in the side. This side looks like it's ready to pick. I guess the whole thing sort of does. Let me see if I can get that. Let's see, where are you attached? Okay, right there. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah. Okay. So right there was where the branch was, and so it has this sort of, I guess some people would call it artsy look to it, but definitely different shape than these other ones. So got just a short walk, produced four of these fruit. This is a project yet to happen. It's a longan tree that was here, and one of my friends was going to pick it up and missed the window of opportunity, you might call it. It just developed a huge root system. It's a 100-gallon pot, and so the tree used to be really big, and it has roots all over the place. I don't know how long it's going to take to get this out, but I would, like to get this whole pot and tree out, and then of course we have more room for the mango trees to grow in this area. But this has been years, so oops. Timing is everything with when potted plants start to grow. Here's a tree that is interesting to me anyway. A lot of this tree is cack, but I wanted to grow out some varieties on this other side of the tree. And so I grafted, years ago, a couple scions on each, this branch and then this one over here. And it turns out this variety is lovely. And I mean that in a couple ways. It's a lovely variety, but it's also a variety named Lovely. And so it's flourishing, and we're hoping to get a lot of fruit this next season. This variety on this other branch, we could call it Not So Lovely. Sometimes, it's not every seed that produces good fruit, and so I've already cut this back. It used to, be a branch that would go out several feet from here, but it's gotten to the point where I could top work nice variety on it. In fact, right here, this was from several months ago, I think, I have put a lovely scion on Not So Lovely, and so it's gotten to the point where I can trim that back. So I guess I'll do that since I sort of have a free hand. I'm sort of a nut about having things that are not organic in the grove, and so I'm one of those weird people that actually takes the elastics off of grafts and such and then throws them in the garbage can. I can't explain it, it's not rational, but that's the way it is. So anyway, we'll get back to this, and we've got all of this was Not So Lovely, and I'll cut it to sort of where I want the final cut to be. So that takes a lot of the weight off of the branch. And then the final cut is, I want to take some of the buddy tape back a little bit, make sure that I see where the healing ends. There's like callus kind of thing where where these two have healed together, and so that's the part I want to leave and trim just above it. And I go at like a 45-degree angle and cut like that. And so in another year or so, it will be hard to find this graft. The diameter of the branch and the scion will equalize, and it will be hard to see where the graft is in a fairly short amount of time. So Lovely is already on one very lovely branch. Oh, there's even another one. See, I do this so much top working that I forget all the ones that I've done, but there is one more lovely graft. So, oops, I lost that last elastic. Put that in my pocket. And so here's the original branch. It's going right up here, and then there's the lovely scion here, or it's now become a small branch. So again, I will peel this, rub this back, the buddy tape, to get a good view of where that healing has stopped. And so that's my target area to trim. So again, like a 45-degree angle, and there it goes. Oops. So that's a quick look at the southeast part of the grove. We did find a few sugar apples, so yay. And we sort of got an idea of how the top work projects in that area are going. It's just a beautiful morning, so I hope you enjoyed this little tour of part of our grove.